I walked into that hospital room expecting to see my wife keeping vigil over my unconscious daughter. Instead, I caught her whispering into Sahara's ear, plotting her murder, not knowing my daughter had been awake and listening for 6 months. 6 months. That's how long I was gone, building deals on the other side of the world, while my 18-year-old adopted daughter, Sahara, lay in what everyone thought was a coma. Victoria, my wife, told me it was an accident, a tragic fall down our mansion's marble staircase. She said our housemaid Simone had pushed her. She said she'd handled everything while I was away because she didn't want to distract me. But when I finally came home and sat beside Sahara's hospital bed, something felt wrong. The way Victoria stood in that doorway, in her champagne silk robe, the relief in her eyes instead of grief. And then I discovered the security footage Victoria thought she'd buried. The footage that showed her gripping Sahara's arms and shoving her backward down those stairs. Deliberate, violent, murder. What I didn't know yet? Sahara had been conscious the entire time, trapped in her own body, listening to every word, recording every confession, gathering evidence while Victoria and her lover Damien plotted over her bedside, believing she'd never wake up to tell the truth. This is the story of how my daughter survived 6 months of hell, how a woman I trusted became a monster, and how we fought back against a conspiracy that nearly destroyed us both. If you want to know how far a desperate woman will go to steal a fortune and how a father and daughter brought her down, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and smash that like button because this story gets darker before it gets light. I touched down early in the morning by 3 o'clock, and I didn't wait for the full shutdown sequence. Half a year of merger negotiations in Singapore, Tokyo, London, cities that blurred together into conference rooms and hotel suites that all smelled the same. I'd built an empire on being present where it mattered, on reading people, on seeing what others missed. Apparently, I'd missed everything that mattered. My driver, Rocco, met me at the hangar. Good man. 20 years with the family. The kind of loyalty you can't buy, only earn. But when I slid into the back seat and asked about Sahara, his hands tightened on the wheel. Mr. Jewell, I think you should speak with Mrs. Jewell about… Rocco. The word daughter still felt new in my mouth, even after 3 years. Adoption papers don't make you a father. Time does. Love does. And I loved that girl more than I'd ever loved anything I'd built with my own hands. She had an accident, sir. 3 weeks after you left. The air left my lungs. 3 weeks? Why the hell didn't anyone… Mrs. Jewell handled everything. Said you were in critical negotiations. Distract me. My daughter nearly died and my wife decided I shouldn't be distracted. The mansion looked exactly as I'd left it. Colonial revival, manicured hedges, fountain lit up like a monument to wealth. I'd bought this house to impress people I didn't even like. Now it felt like a mausoleum. Victoria met me at the door. She'd clearly been awake, waiting. Her blonde hair was pulled back, perfect even at 4 in the morning. She wore a silk robe the color of champagne. When she reached for me, I stepped back. Graham, you must be exhausted. Something flickered across her face. Relief? Calculation? It vanished before I could name it. Upstairs, second guest room. We moved her there so the medical staff could… I was already climbing the stairs, taking them 2 at a time. The second guest room. Not her own bedroom with the telescope she loved. The posters of nebulas and galaxies she'd pinned up herself. A guest room. Like she was visiting. The door was partially open. Soft light spilled into the hallway. I heard the rhythmic beep of a heart monitor before I saw her. Sahara lay in the hospital bed they'd brought in, and my heart shattered. Her beautiful brown skin looked ashen against the white sheets. Her hair, usually a crown of natural curls she wore with pride, was pulled back flat. An oxygen tube ran beneath her nose. IV lines snaked from both arms. But it was her face that destroyed me. 18 years old, and she looked like she'd aged a decade. Purple shadows beneath her closed eyes, a fading bruise along her left temple. Her lips were chapped, slightly parted. I moved to her bedside, careful not to disturb the wires. "Baby girl, I'm here." Nothing, not even a flutter of her eyelids. Behind me, Victoria's voice was honey-sweet. "The doctors say she might not wake up, Graham. The head trauma was severe." I turned to look at my wife. Really look at her. She stood in the doorway, framed by the hallway light, and her expression was appropriate, sad, concerned, supportive, everything it should be. So why did every instinct I'd honed over 43 years scream that something was wrong? Victoria glided into the room, her movements practiced. It was early morning. I was in the East Wing. I heard a crash and ran to the foyer. She was at the bottom of the stairs. "Our housemaid, quiet woman, mid-40s, worked for us for 2 years. Victoria's voice broke perfectly. I saw it. The beeping of the heart monitor filled the silence. Steady, mechanical. The only sound proving my daughter was still alive. "That doesn't make sense. Simone would never—" she confessed. Well, not in so many words, but the evidence was overwhelming. I looked back at Sahara, at the girl who'd spent 3 years trying to earn a place in this family, who studied astrophysics because she wanted to understand the universe, who laughed at my terrible dad jokes even when they weren't funny, who called me dad for the first time 6 months before I left and made me cry in my office like a child. The girl who was lying here unconscious while I was signing contracts on the other side of the world. The police have it. Then I want to speak with the investigating officer. Graham, it's 4 a.m. You've been traveling for 20 hours. You need rest." My voice came out harder than I intended. Victoria's mask slipped, just for a second. Her eyes went cold, flat, empty. Then the concerned wife returned. "I made a judgment call. I'm sorry if it was the wrong one." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe that my wife of 5 years was exactly who she'd always seemed to be. Ambitious, yes, but devoted, supportive, a partner. But I'd built a billion-dollar company by trusting my instincts, and every single one of them was screaming. I sat down in the chair beside Sahara's bed and took her hand. It was warm, but limp. I wove my fingers through hers and leaned close. "I'm not going anywhere," I whispered. "You hear me?" Her fingers didn't squeeze back. Her eyes didn't open. The monitor beeped its steady rhythm, indifferent to hope or despair. Behind me, Victoria left without another word. I sat there until sunrise, holding my daughter's hand, and wondering how I'd let my life become a house full of strangers. I stayed by Sahara's bedside for 3 days straight. Victoria brought meals I didn't eat. Nurses came to check vitals, adjust IVs, rotate her position to prevent bed sores. I watched everything they did like a hawk, memorizing routines, cataloging every detail. At night, when the house went quiet, I'd talk to Sahara about the deals I'd closed, the cities I'd seen, the way Tokyo looked from the hotel window at dawn. Mostly, I apologized. I should have been here. Should have called more. The guilt was eating me alive. 6 months. I'd left her alone in this house for half a year with a woman who... What? What was I even accusing Victoria of? Being cold? Making a bad decision about when to call me? Those weren't crimes. They were just... wrong. Everything felt wrong. On the 4th morning, I finally left Sahara's room to shower and change. My home office was exactly as I'd left it. Mahogany desk, wall of awards and framed magazine covers, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the gardens. I'd done interviews in this room, made billion-dollar calls, built an empire. None of it mattered worth a damn. I called my attorney first. Joseph Swan had handled everything from corporate acquisitions to my adoption papers. If anyone could get me answers, it was him. "Graham, welcome back. I heard about Sahara. I need the police report, security footage, medical records." A pause. Next, I called my head of security, Andre. He'd been handling some overseas logistics during my trip, but he needed to know I was home. "Boss, good to have you back. Unchanged, I need you to pull all mansion security footage from the day of the accident. Mrs. Jewell already had me send it to the police, but I can pull the backup. Do it." And Andre? Another pause. Longer this time. I hung up and stared at my phone. What was I doing? Investigating my own wife? The woman I'd married, who'd stood beside me through corporate battles and media scrutiny, who'd agreed, reluctantly, but still agreed, to the adoption when I'd brought Sahara home. But then I remembered the look in Victoria's eyes when I'd asked about the footage. That cold, flat emptiness before the mask came back. My phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Angelo Martinez, Sahara's neurologist. "Can you come to the hospital?" My stomach dropped. I was out the door in seconds. The hospital was a 30-minute drive. I made it in 18. Dr. Martinez met me in his office, a small space that smelled like coffee and antiseptic. He was young for a neurologist, early 40s maybe, but came highly recommended. Victoria had found him. "Mr. Jewell, what's wrong? Is she..." "She's stable." He pulled up scans on his computer, cross-sections of Sahara's brain, dark and light patches I couldn't interpret. "These are her CT scans from the night of the accident. Significant head trauma, subdural hematoma, swelling." He pulled up another set of scans. "These are from 2 days ago. The swelling has reduced dramatically, far more than we'd expect." Hope flared in my chest. It means her brain is more active than her body is showing us. I've seen cases like this before, patients who appear unconscious but have varying levels of awareness. Some can hear, some can process information. The room tilted. "I'm saying it's possible. I can't be certain." He leaned forward. "Mr. Jewell, I need to ask you something. My wife, Victoria." "And the nurses?" "Victoria hired a private team." Dr. Martinez's expression shifted. Professional concern mixed with something else. Suspicion? "I'd like to recommend we move Sahara to the hospital for observation, just for a week or 2. He chose his words carefully. "I'm not making accusations, but in cases of unexplained trauma, especially involving young people, we have protocols." He held my gaze. The words hit me like a fist. "I think her injuries have some inconsistencies with a simple fall. The bruising pattern, the angle of impact." I couldn't breathe. Falls downstairs typically cause multiple impact points, shoulders, hips, limbs. Sahara's primary trauma is focused on her head and upper back. He pulled up another image. "And this, see this bruising on her upper arms? These are consistent with grip marks." The office was too small, too hot. I stood up, paced to the window, tried to process what he was telling me. Victoria, gripping Sahara's arms, pushing her. No, that was insane. Victoria was cold sometimes, distant. But murder? Attempted murder of an 18-year-old girl? But then why had she waited 3 weeks to tell me? Why had she insisted on private care instead of hospital supervision? Why had she moved Sahara to a guest room instead of keeping her in her own space? I turned back to Dr. Martinez. "Move her. Today." He hesitated. "The housemaid who was arrested, Simone Chen. Her statement claims she heard arguing before the fall. Raised voices. female voices. But when police arrived, Mrs. Jewell said Ms. Female voices plural. According to Ms. Chen's statement, yes, but the police gave more weight to Mrs. Jewell's testimony. Ms. Chen's lawyer tried to fight it, but your wife was very… Of course she was. Victoria could sell water to the ocean. I drove back to the mansion in a daze. My phone rang 4 times, Victoria calling. I didn't answer. I needed to think. Needed to figure out what the hell was happening in my own house. The gates opened automatically. I parked in the circular drive and sat there, staring at the house I'd bought to prove I'd made it. 16 bedrooms, indoor pool, wine cellar, home theater, everything money could buy, everything except the truth. I found Victoria in the sunroom, arranging flowers. White roses. She looked up when I entered, her smile perfect. Darling, I was worried. The smile didn't waver, but her hands stilled. Why? Dr. Martinez wants to run more tests. Now the smile faded. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm telling you what her doctor said, and I'm telling you we're moving her. Victoria set down the roses, carefully, deliberately. Graham, I understand you're upset. You feel guilty for being away, but you can't just disrupt her care because… Simone said she heard arguing. Female voices. Silence. Long and heavy. Then let's review the security footage together. I told you the police have… Andre kept backups. Something flickered across Victoria's face. Fear? Rage? It was gone too fast to identify. You're investigating me. Our daughter. I've cared for her while you were building your empire on the other side of the world. I'm the one who sat with her in the hospital, who hired the best doctors, who protected you from the burden of… Protected me? You were closing the Singapore deal. She's 18 years old, lying in a coma. We were shouting now. The first real fight of our marriage. 5 years of careful civility exploding in a sunroom full of white roses. Victoria's composure cracked. You've never appreciated anything I've done. You adopted that girl without even asking me. Brought her into our home like some charity project. She's not a charity project. She's the reason you don't see me anymore. My voice echoed off the glass walls. Victoria went silent, breathing hard. I spoke quietly now, deliberately. You will not speak about Sahara that way. Ever. She stared at me like she'd never seen me before. Maybe she hadn't. Maybe I'd been playing a role too. The devoted husband, the man who didn't ask too many questions. Fine, she said finally. Move her. Review the footage. Investigate all you want. She walked past me, shoulder brushing mine, her perfume trailing like poison. I stood there among the white roses, wondering when my life had become a crime scene. Andre delivered the security footage at midnight. I'd been sitting in my office for hours, nursing bourbon I wasn't drinking, staring at Sahara's adoption photo on my desk. 3 years ago. She'd been 15, all awkward angles and careful smiles, like she was afraid to take up too much space. I'd promised her she belonged here. Promised her she was safe. Andre set his laptop on my desk, his expression grim. M. The stairs swept down in an elegant curve, marble gleaming in the early light. Empty. Waiting. Then Sahara appeared at the top of the stairs. She was wearing her Howard University sweatshirt, astronomy program, her dream school, and carrying textbooks. Just a girl heading down for breakfast. My throat tightened. Victoria appeared from the hallway. I couldn't hear the audio. No sound on this camera, but I could see her mouth moving. Fast. Angry. Sahara stopped, turned toward her stepmother. Her body language shifted. Defensive. Afraid. Jesus, I whispered. Victoria moved closer. Sahara stepped back toward the stairs, shaking her head, trying to de-escalate. I knew that look. I'd seen it in business negotiations, someone trying desperately not to make things worse. Then Victoria's arm shot out. It happened so fast I almost missed it. Victoria grabbed Sahara's upper arms, both hands tight grip, and shoved. Not a push, a shove. Violent, deliberate, aimed. Sahara's arms windmilled. Her textbooks flew. Her body twisted backward, head snapping against the banister before she tumbled down 15 marble steps like a broken doll. She landed at the bottom and didn't move. Victoria stood at the top of the stairs, watching. Just watching. For 5 full seconds. Then she pulled out her phone, composed herself, and descended slowly. Carefully. By the time she reached Sahara's crumpled body, she was screaming for help. The performance of a lifetime. Andre stopped the footage. There's more. Simone came running from the kitchen. She got there maybe 10 seconds after Victoria started screaming. Security arrived 30 seconds later. By then, I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. I'd just watched my wife attempt to murder my daughter. The police never saw this angle, Andre continued. Mrs. Jewell had me send footage from the other cameras, the ones that show Simone arriving after the fall. She said the police had everything they needed. He met my eyes. I should have checked, should have questioned it. I replayed the footage, watched Victoria's hands grip Sahara's arms, watched my daughter fall. Watched her beautiful, brilliant brain smash against marble because my wife... Why? That was the part I couldn't grasp. Why would Victoria want Sahara dead? Pull everything, I said quietly. Every camera, every angle, every day since I left. And Andre? Get me records of every phone call Victoria's made in the past 6 months. Bank accounts, credit cards. You think this is bigger than just... I think my wife just tried to kill my daughter and framed an innocent woman for it. I think there's a reason. Andre nodded and left. I sat alone in the dark, watching the footage loop. Sahara falling, Victoria watching. Over and over. My phone buzzed. Text from Dr. Martinez. Sahara's settled in her hospital room. Room 847. Safe. The word felt like a knife. She should have been safe in her own home. I forwarded the footage to Joseph with a simple message. Get Simone released. Then I did something I hadn't done since building my first startup in a garage 20 years ago. I prayed. Not for success or deals or money, just for my daughter to wake up. To tell me what really happened in the 6 months I was gone. To give me a chance to make this right. The footage kept playing. Sahara falling. Victoria watching. I memorized every frame. If you're wondering how deep this betrayal goes, hit subscribe, because Victoria's secrets are just starting to unravel. Morning came gray and cold. I hadn't slept, hadn't changed clothes. I looked like hell and didn't care. Victoria found me in the foyer, standing where Sahara had landed. I'd been there for an hour, trying to understand how I'd missed this, how I'd married a monster. Her voice was careful, measured. I turned to face her. She was dressed for the day. Cream blouse, tailored pants, pearl earrings, every hair in place. The woman who'd shoved my daughter down the stairs and then ordered coffee like nothing happened. I've seen the footage, I said. She went very still. All of it. The mask cracked, just for a second. Fear flashed across her face before the calculation returned. My voice was ice. And you framed Simone, and you lied to police, and you kept me away for 6 months while she lay unconscious because... I stepped closer. Why, Victoria? She lifted her chin, defiant now. The words came out sharp, honest, finally. Your precious Sahara with her scholarships and her dreams and her, "Daddy, can I show you my telescope routine?" You couldn't see how she manipulated you, how she made you soft. She's a threat. To us. To our future. I built. Victoria's face twisted. There it is. The truth you've been too polite to say. I'm just the trophy wife. The pretty accessory. The words hung between us. Ugly. Irrevocable. I pulled out my phone and held it up. The screen showed the footage, paused on the moment of impact. Joseph's filing charges this morning. The DA will have this by noon. All the color drained from Victoria's face. Simone's being released within the hour. Her lawyer's already preparing a civil suit. I can do whatever I want. It's my money, my house. I stepped past her toward the door. Pack a bag. Graham, wait. I didn't wait. Didn't look back. Just walked out of that house and drove toward the only person who mattered. My daughter. Who might be able to hear me. Who might know the whole truth about what Victoria had done. The hospital room was quiet, except for the rhythmic beep of monitors. Sahara looked smaller here, swallowed by white sheets and medical equipment. I pulled a chair close to her bed and took her hand. Hey, baby girl. Nothing. Same as always. But Dr. Martinez's words echoed in my head. Her brain is more active than her body is showing us. She might be able to hear. I squeezed her fingers gently. I saw the footage. I know what Victoria did. Her hand stayed limp in mine. The oxygen tube under her nose fogged with each breath. In, out, mechanical. Alive, but absent. Or was she? I studied her face. The faint bruise on her temple had faded to yellow-green. Her lips were fuller now. The nurses were keeping her hydrated. But there was something else. Something I couldn't quite name. A tension around her eyes that wasn't there before. The doctors think you might be aware. I leaned closer. If you can hear me, Sahara, I need you to know. You're safe now. Victoria can't hurt you anymore. I'm handling it. And I'm not leaving. Was that a flicker? Did her eyelid just twitch? I held my breath, watched, waited. Nothing. Maybe I was seeing what I wanted to see. Maybe grief and guilt were making me hallucinate hope. My phone buzzed. Joseph, Simone released. She wants to speak with you. I texted back, hospital, room 847. Bring her here. 30 minutes later, Joseph arrived with a small woman in her mid-40s. Simone looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, clothes that hung loose like she'd lost weight. 6 months in county jail while awaiting trial would do that. She stopped in the doorway when she saw Sahara. Her hand flew to her mouth. Oh God, the poor girl. Is she stable? I said. Simone, I'm Graham Jewell. I'm sorry for what you've been through. She moved closer to the bed, tears streaming down her face. I tried to tell them, tried to explain, but Mrs. Jewell, she was so convincing, and I'm just a housemaid with an accent. The shame hit me like a physical blow. She was right. In a contest between my wealthy white wife and my Filipina housemaid, the system had chosen who to believe before hearing a word of testimony. I believe you now, I said. And I need to know everything. Simone wiped her eyes and sat in the chair Joseph offered. Mrs. Jewell changed after you left. First month she was fine, normal. But then, she started having this man visit. Tall, handsome, always wearing expensive suits. She said he was a business consultant. Mr. My blood went cold. Damien? No, sir, but they spent hours in your office, going through papers, your files, 2-3 times a week. She looked down at her hands. I'm sorry, Mr. Jewell. I didn't want to gossip, but you're not gossiping. You're telling me the truth. I pulled out my phone and opened the photo app. I'd searched social media while waiting. Found exactly one Damien connected to Victoria's circle. Damien Pratt, investment banker, divorced, reputation for aggressive hostile takeovers. They'd gone to business school together. Simone's eyes widened. Yes. So Victoria had a lover, a man who specialized in stealing companies. And they'd spent 6 months alone in my house, going through my files, while I negotiated deals overseas. Tell me about Sahara. Simone's expression darkened. Bad. Really bad. At first, just cold. Ignored her. But it got worse. She'd say cruel things when she thought no one was listening. Called her names. Terrible names. Said she didn't belong. Said Mr. I felt sick. Miss Sahara. She tried so hard. Stayed out of Mrs. Jewell's way. Studied in her room. Never complained. But I could see it hurt her. She got quieter. Thinner. No, sir. She said you had important work. A burden. My brilliant, beautiful daughter thought she was a burden while my wife tortured her and planned God knows what with her lover. The morning of the accident, I said carefully. Simone nodded. Female voices. Loud. I was in the kitchen preparing breakfast. I heard Mrs. Jewell shouting something about papers. Legal papers. Papers? I don't know. But the week before, Miss Sahara had turned 18. There was a small celebration. Just cake in the kitchen with the staff. My mind raced. Legal adulthood. And Victoria and Damien had been going through my files for months. Joseph, I said quietly, I need you to audit everything. Every account, every investment, every legal document in my name. Joseph's face went grim. I think they were planning to steal everything. Simone was crying again. I should have protected her. Should have called you. Should have... You tried to save her that morning. You ran to help when she fell. I stood and took Simone's hands. Thank you. For caring about my daughter when no one else did. She squeezed my hands. Will she wake up, Mr. I don't know, but I'm going to find out why Victoria did this. After they left, I sat beside Sahara again. The sun was setting outside, painting the room in amber light. I whispered, You discovered what they were doing. Her chest rose and fell. The monitor beeped. No response. But something felt different. The tension around her eyes was stronger now. Deliberate. Like she was concentrating. I leaned close. If you can hear me, baby girl, I need you to know something. I believe you. Whatever happened, whatever you found, I believe you. Was that her finger? Did it just twitch against my palm? I held perfectly still, barely breathing. There. Again. The smallest movement. Her index finger pressing against mine. Sahara? Another twitch, stronger this time. Deliberate. She was in there, conscious, aware, and she'd been listening this whole time. I hit the call button so hard I nearly broke it. A nurse rushed in within seconds, followed by Dr. Martinez, who must have been making rounds nearby. Her finger moved, I said, gripping Sahara's hand. She squeezed my hand. Dr. Martinez moved to the bedside, pen light already out. We waited. 5 seconds. 10. Nothing. Sometimes family members want so badly to see improvement that... Sahara's finger pressed against my palm. Weak but unmistakable. Dr. Martinez's eyes widened. Again, Sahara. Squeeze once for yes, twice for no. 1 squeeze. Jesus, the nurse whispered. Dr. Martinez started a rapid neuro assessment. checking pupils, reflexes, responses. "This is remarkable." He looked at me. "Since I got here, what were you saying?" I hesitated. The truth felt too raw, too dangerous to say aloud in front of strangers. But Sahara squeezed my hand again. Harder, like she was giving me permission. I told her I knew what my wife did, that I believed her. Dr. Martinez and the nurse exchanged glances. Professional mask slipping into something more human. Horror. Sympathy. "Sahara," Dr. Martinez said gently, "were you aware this whole time?" One squeeze. Yes. The room temperature seemed to drop 20 degrees. Two squeezes. No. A pause. Then one strong squeeze. Yes. I leaned close. "Baby girl, you're safe here. Victoria can't get to you." Her finger relaxed slightly in my palm, but the fear was still there. I could feel it radiating off her like heat. Dr. Martinez pulled me aside while the nurse continued monitoring. "This is called locked-in syndrome awareness. She's conscious, processing information, but can't control her body yet. Impossible to say. Could be days, could be weeks." His face confirmed what I already knew. My daughter had been trapped in her own body for half a year. Aware. Listening. Unable to move, or speak, or cry for help. While Victoria and her lover plotted over her hospital bed. The rage that filled me was biblical. My voice barely worked. "We continue stimulation. Talk to her. Play music. Read to her. The more we engage her brain, the better chance she has of regaining motor control. And Mr. He put a hand on my shoulder. You might want to consider what she's been hearing." She'd heard everything. Every conversation, every plot, every cruel word. She knew things that could destroy Victoria completely. And Victoria had no idea Sahara was conscious. I returned to Sahara's bedside. The nurse had stepped out to update charts. We were alone. "Sahara, I need to ask you something important. Squeeze once for yes, twice for no." One squeeze. One squeeze. Strong. Angry. Was she planning something with Damien? One squeeze. One squeeze. My heart hammered. "Did they talk about it in front of you?" One squeeze. Dear God. She had evidence, testimony. She'd heard everything they'd said for 6 months, believing she couldn't hear them. "Sahara, this is important." The longest pause yet. Then one squeeze. Definitive. Terrified. She won't. But even as I said it, I realized the problem. Victoria was still free. Still my legal wife. Still had access to resources, money, connections. Joseph was filing charges, but that would take time. Days at least. Maybe weeks. And if Victoria found out Sahara was waking up. My phone buzzed. Text from Andre. "Boss, we have a problem. Mrs. Jewell just left the mansion with 3 suitcases and got into a car with an unknown male." "Want me to follow?" I texted back. "Yes, don't lose them. Take photos." Then to Joseph. "How fast can you get a restraining order?" "Already on it. Should have it by morning." Morning. 12 hours away. 12 hours where Victoria was in the wind with Damien, probably realizing her world was about to collapse. 12 hours where she might decide to tie up loose ends. I looked at the door. Hospital security was standard. Nurses' station, visitor log, ID badges. Not exactly Fort Knox. "Sahara, I need to make a call. I'll be right outside your door. I'm not leaving you." One squeeze. I stepped into the hallway and called Andre. "Heading toward the city. Want me to wait? They're pulling into a parking garage, downtown." The financial district, where all the lawyers and investment banks were. "Stay on them." I hung up and paced. Financial district meant documents, accounts, legal maneuvering. They were either moving money or planning their next move, or both. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. A woman's voice. Clipped, professional. This is Alexis Winters from Winters and Associates. The word hung in the air like a bomb. Mrs. Jewell retained our services this afternoon. We'll be filing papers tomorrow. Silence. Then, that's a serious accusation, Mr. Jewell. Security footage. Medical evidence. More silence. I see. Well, that does complicate things. You do that, and tell her she won't get a dime. I hung up. Divorce. Victoria was filing for divorce, which meant she knew I had the footage, knew her time was up, and she was making her move. The question was, how far would she go to protect herself? I went back to Sahara's room. She was exactly as I'd left her, still, silent, trapped. But her finger found mine immediately. One deliberate squeeze. I'm here. I'm listening. I'm waiting. Hold on, baby girl, I whispered. Because Victoria had just declared war, and I was going to make damn sure she lost. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. I pulled a chair directly in front of Sahara's door and sat there like a guard dog, watching every nurse, every orderly, every person who walked past. Andre sent updates every hour. Victoria and Damien had met with the divorce attorney, then a banker, then disappeared into a hotel for 3 hours. Planning, scheming, covering their tracks. My phone buzzed. Joseph, found something. You need to see this. Sending now. The PDF loaded slowly. Corporate documents, transfer authorizations, all dated within the last 6 months, all bearing my signature, except I'd never signed any of them. Son of a bitch, I whispered. They'd forged my signature. Systematically, methodically, transferring assets into shell corporations, offshore accounts, investment vehicles I'd never heard of. Millions, tens of millions, all moving out of my control while I was overseas signing real deals, completely unaware my own wife was robbing me blind. Joseph's text continued. Total estimated theft, 47 million. Most transfers occurred in the 2 months after Sahara turned 18. Pattern suggests they were waiting for something specific. Sahara turned 18. Legal adulthood. And a week later, she was pushed down the stairs. What had she found? What had made Victoria act so desperately? I looked through the doorway at my daughter. She was still motionless, but I knew she was listening. Always listening. Sahara, I said quietly, stepping back inside. I need to ask you something. The morning Victoria pushed you, did you confront her about money? 2 squeezes. No. Was it about something else? 1 squeeze. Yes. Documents? 1 squeeze. 1 squeeze. Were they planning to steal more? A long pause. Then 3 squeezes. Fast. Urgent. Not yes or no. Something else. Something more. Sahara, I don't understand. She did it again. 3 quick pulses against my palm. Desperate. Frustrated. Then I got it. Worse. 3 means worse. 1 squeeze. Strong. Relieved I'd understood. My mind raced. What was worse than 47 million in theft? What would make Victoria risk murder to keep quiet? Did they plan to hurt me? 2 squeezes. No. 2 squeezes. Sahara, I don't... My phone rang. Andre. I answered immediately. Boss, you need to hear this. I planted a listening device in Mrs. Jewell's car weeks ago. Standard security protocol. It just activated. Ice flooded my veins. 20 minutes. She's with Damien. And boss? They're arguing. Finishing it. Get hospital security up here, now. I don't care what you have to tell them. I hung up and looked at Sahara. Her finger was pressing against my palm repeatedly. Panicked. I know she's coming. I stepped into the hallway. The nurse's station was quiet. Shift change in 30 minutes. One nurse typing charts. No security visible. Damn it. I called hospital administration. Got voicemail. Called the security desk. This is Graham Jewell, room 847. I need immediate protection for my daughter. My wife is on her way here, and she's a threat. Sir, you'll need to file a formal complaint with, she tried to murder my daughter 6 months ago. Sir, I understand you're upset, but I can't station guards based on family disputes. I hung up. Useless. The system was designed to handle paperwork, not emergencies. If you're wondering whether Sahara survives what's coming next, you need to subscribe, because Victoria's running out of time and options. Comment below. What would you do in Graham's position? I grabbed the nurse from the station. Young guy, probably mid-20s, looked startled by my intensity. Listen to me very carefully. My wife is on her way here right now. She pushed my daughter down the stairs 6 months ago, and she's coming to hurt her again. I need you to lock this door and not let anyone in except me or Dr. Martinez. No one. Sir, I can't just... I'll pay you $10,000 cash. I pulled out my wallet, started counting hundreds. Lock the door. Don't let anyone in. His eyes went wide at the money, then at my face. He must have seen something there. The desperation, the rage, the absolute certainty that my wife was a killer. Okay. I gave him the cash and went back inside. Moved a chair against the door. It wouldn't stop anyone determined, but it would slow them down. By seconds. Seconds might be all we needed. Sahara's finger pressed against mine. Rhythmic. 3 pulses. Over and over. Worse. Something worse. Something worse. Sahara, what was worse than the money? Please. She squeezed so hard it hurt, desperate to communicate something she had no words for. Then I heard it. Footsteps in the hallway. Fast. Confident. High heels clicking on linoleum. I moved to the door and looked through the small window. Victoria. Walking straight toward Sahara's room. Damien beside her, looking nervous. She was dressed like she'd just left a business meeting. Navy suit, hair perfect, the picture of a concerned wife visiting her stepdaughter. The nurse stepped in front of them. I'm sorry, ma'am. Victoria's voice was silk over steel. Sir's orders? Her father is being irrational. He's distraught. Surely you can understand. I opened the door. Victoria's mask fell away when she saw me. No more concerned wife, just cold calculation. Graham, I think we do. You've seen the footage. You've drawn conclusions. Then enlighten me. People in the hallway stopped. Turned. Suddenly we had an audience. Victoria noticed. Her smile was razor sharp. You're causing a scene. This isn't the place. No, this is exactly the place. In front of witnesses. I gestured to the security camera in the corner. Damien grabbed Victoria's arm. She shook him off. The words landed like a grenade. Your precious daughter found documents she shouldn't have. Made copies. Victoria's voice rose. She's not some innocent victim. My voice cut through hers. I'm not lying. Check her laptop. Check her room. She was good. So good. Planting doubt, creating alternate narratives, playing the victim. But she'd made one critical mistake. Sahara, I called back into the room. Is any of that true? A pause. Then loud enough for everyone to hear. One strong squeeze against my palm that I felt through the doorway. No. One squeeze meant no. Victoria's face went white. Actually, Dr. Martinez's voice came from behind Victoria. She's not. She's been showing purposeful responses for the past 12 hours. The color drained completely from Victoria's face. Damien took a step back. That's impossible, Victoria whispered. It's called awareness. She's conscious. She hears. Dr. Martinez moved between them and the door. And I think you need to leave. Victoria looked at me. Really looked at me. And for the first time in 5 years of marriage, I saw her without any mask at all. Fear. Pure animal fear. Because Sahara knew everything, had heard everything, and Victoria had just realized her victim was about to become her executioner. Security arrived within minutes. Real security this time, not just the bored desk guard. Andre had made some calls, thrown around words like attempted murder and billionaire, and suddenly the hospital took threats seriously. They escorted Victoria and Damien out while she screamed about restraining orders and false accusations. I watched them go, then locked Sahara's door from the inside. She's gone, I said, returning to the bedside. One squeeze, but weaker than before. The confrontation had exhausted her. Dr. Martinez came in 20 minutes later with a full neurological team. They ran tests, checked responses, confirmed what I already knew. Sahara was in there, fighting her way back. This is extraordinary, one of the specialists said. Her neural pathways are regenerating faster than we've ever seen. If she continues at this rate, she could regain motor control within weeks. Can she speak? Not yet, but we can work on communication. Eye blinks, letterboards. They left us alone after an hour. Sahara's finger found mine immediately. Hey, baby girl. One squeeze. I almost laughed. Almost. Victoria said you were blackmailing them. I paused. 2 squeezes. No. You found something. Something bad. 1 squeeze. What was it? 3 squeezes again. Frustrated. Desperate. I pulled out my phone. Okay, different approach. I'm going to list possibilities. Squeeze once if I'm getting warmer, twice if I'm way off. 1 squeeze. Was it about the company? 2 squeezes. 1 squeeze. Warmer. About my safety? 1 squeeze. Stronger. My blood ran cold. 2 squeezes. Not kill, but something involving my life. My safety. What the hell? Insurance. 1 squeeze, but hesitant. Partial truth. 2 squeezes. 1 squeeze. 1 squeeze. Immediate. Strong. The pieces clicked into place. They took out life insurance on you. 1 squeeze. 1 squeeze. I pulled up my phone, started searching insurance records Joseph had sent, scrolled through policies, beneficiaries, dates, and there it was. $10 million policy, taken out 3 months after I'd left. Beneficiary, Victoria Jewell, as legal guardian of minor dependent. Except Sahara wasn't a minor anymore. Wait, you turned 18. The policy wouldn't be valid once you were 18 unless… I scrolled faster. Unless they forged documents claiming you were mentally incapacitated. 1 squeeze. Hard. They'd planned it perfectly. Forge guardianship papers. Take out the policy. Stage an accident. Collect 10 million. And with me overseas, distracted. None the wiser, until it was too late. But Sahara had found the documents. Probably in my office where Victoria and Damien had gotten careless. And when she confronted Victoria, or maybe just tried to understand what she was seeing, Victoria had panicked and pushed her. Except the push hadn't killed her. It had only trapped her in her own body, aware and helpless, while Victoria waited for her to die naturally so she could claim it was complications from the accident. 6 months. Victoria had waited 6 months for my daughter to die. Sahara, did they talk about finishing it? One squeeze. Did they discuss methods? One squeeze. 3 times in rapid succession. Yes, yes, yes. My hands shook. What did they say? She squeezed my finger, then went still. Thinking. Then she squeezed in a pattern. 3 quick pulses. Pause. 2 pulses. Pause. 1 long pulse. I don't understand. 2 squeezes. No. She did it again. Same pattern. 3, 2, 1. Numbers? 1 squeeze. 3, 2, 1. 2 squeezes. A date? 2 squeezes. I was missing something. 3, 2, 1. What did that mean? My phone buzzed. Andre. Boss pulled Victoria's phone records. She's been calling a number repeatedly. Traced it to Yasmin Pratt. Works at Mercy General Hospital. Night shift ICU nurse. My stomach dropped. Sahara, did Victoria bribe a nurse? 1 squeeze. Immediate. To do what? To give you something? 1 squeeze. 1 squeeze. Strong. Terrified. 3, 2, 1. 3 attempts to kill her. 2 people involved. 1 target. Or something else entirely. When? She squeezed rapidly. Urgent. Panicked. Today? 1 squeeze. The blood left my face. Victoria showing up at the hospital this morning. It wasn't just to threaten Sahara. It was supposed to be the day. The nurse Victoria had bribed was probably working today, waiting for her signal. And now Victoria knew Sahara was aware. Knew her plan was unraveling. Knew she had hours, maybe minutes, before police arrested her. She was cornered. Desperate. Which made her more dangerous than ever. I hit the call button. When the nurse came in, not the young guy I'd bribed, someone else, I grabbed her arm. She looked confused. Yes, night shift. 4 hours from now. When she arrives, do not let her near this room. Call security immediately. The nurse's eyes widened. Sir, that's a serious accusation. I have phone records, proof she's been paid by my wife. The nurse looked at Sahara, then back at me. Something in my face must have convinced her. I'll notify the charge nurse. After she left, I texted Andre. Find Yasmin Pratt. Current location. I need to know if Victoria contacts her again. Then to Joseph. Accelerate everything. Arrests, restraining orders, asset freezes. Victoria's making her move today. I turned back to Sahara. Her eyes were still closed, but tears leaked from the corners. Silent. Helpless. I wiped them gently. I've got you. She won't get near you. But even as I said it, I wondered, how many promises had I already broken? How many times had I sworn she was safe, she was loved, she belonged, only to leave her alone with a monster? I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry I didn't see it, didn't protect you. But I see it now. 1 squeeze, soft, forgiving. But forgiveness didn't erase the danger. Victoria was still out there, still desperate, still capable of anything. And we had 4 hours until the nurse she'd bribed walked through that door. 4 hours to stop a murder that had been 6 months in the making. I pulled my chair closer to the bed and didn't move. If anyone wanted to hurt my daughter, they'd have to go through me first. 3 hours until Yasmin Pratt's shift. I'd turned Sahara's room into a fortress. Security outside, door locked. Every visitor logged and verified. Andre stationed himself in the hallway. Joseph was at the police station, personally delivering evidence to the DA. but I couldn't shake the feeling we were missing something. Victoria was smart, calculating. She wouldn't put all her eggs in one basket. If the nurse was plan A, what was plan B? My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "You're making a mistake. Meet me. 1 hour. Come alone or Sahara pays." I stared at the screen. Victoria's desperation, now in writing. I texted back. "Where?" "Our house. The office. Where this all started. I should have ignored it. Should have told the police." But something in me needed to face her. Needed to hear her say it all out loud, without the lawyers, and the cameras, and the performance. I squeezed Sahara's hand. "I have to go somewhere. Andre's outside. Security's watching. You're safe. But I need you to keep fighting, okay? Keep squeezing." One squeeze, but hesitant, afraid. "I'll be back in 2 hours." 2 squeezes. "No, don't go. I have to. She needs to confess. Needs to admit what she did, so there's no legal wiggle room." I leaned close. "Trust me." A long pause, then one squeeze. Weak, reluctant. I kissed her forehead and left. The mansion looked different in daylight. Colder, less like a home, more like a crime scene waiting to be processed. I parked in the circular drive and sat there, watching the windows for movement. Victoria appeared at the front door. Alone. Still in her navy suit, but rumpled now. Hair less perfect. The facade cracking. I walked to the door slowly. Every instinct screamed trap. "No weapons," she called out. "No recording devices. Because if you don't, I'll disappear. Damien has a plane waiting. We'll be in a non-extradition country by tonight. Which shows an argument and a push. Manslaughter at worst. I'll serve 3 years, maybe 5. Her smile was poisonous. She was right. Without a confession, without concrete proof of premeditation and conspiracy, she might actually walk away from this. I stepped inside. The foyer looked exactly the same. Marble stairs gleaming. The spot where Sahara had landed. Polished clean. No evidence a girl had nearly died here. Victoria led me to my office. Damien was there, sitting behind my desk like he owned it. Cocky. Comfortable. He didn't stand. "You're a reasonable man. See, that's where you're wrong." He pulled out a folder. "We tried to collect on an insurance policy." "We created an opportunity," Victoria corrected. "The fall was meant to be incapacitating. She was supposed to remain in a vegetative state, comfortable, cared for, but unaware. Then, in a few months, complications would arise. Natural complications. The casual way she described murdering my daughter made my vision blur red. Victoria moved closer. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to drop all charges. Let us take 20 million, a fair split of what we've already moved, and disappear. You'll tell the police it was all a misunderstanding." Damien opened a laptop. Security footage appeared, but not from the mansion. From the hospital. Sahara's room. Live feed. My blood turned to ice. "We have someone inside," Victoria said softly. "Not just Yasmin. Someone you haven't identified. Someone who can walk into that room right now and disconnect the machines or administer the wrong medication." She checked her watch. "They're waiting for my call." She pulled out her phone. Damien leaned back, smug. 20 million, Graham. Your company's worth billions." Every instinct screamed to lunge across the desk and break his neck, but Sahara's face flashed in my mind. Helpless, trapped, depending on me. "How do I know you won't hurt her anyway?" "Because we're not monsters," Victoria said. "We're practical. Murder carries risks, complications. We'd rather take the money and run." She shrugged. I looked between them. Victoria, the wife I'd trusted. Damien, the parasite who'd corrupted her, or maybe just revealed who she'd always been, both willing to kill a girl to fund their escape. "I need proof your person can actually access Sahara. Could be a bluff." Damien typed something. On the screen, the hospital room door opened. A figure in scrubs entered, face obscured by a surgical mask and cap. They moved to Sahara's bedside and adjusted something on the IV line. Then they held up a piece of paper to the camera. Tick-tock. My heart stopped. Victoria asked. "One call. That's all it takes." "So what's it going to be, Graham? 20 million and your daughter lives?" I stared at the laptop screen, at the figure standing over Sahara. My daughter who'd survived 6 months of hell only to be threatened again in the one place she was supposed to be safe. Victoria raised her phone. "I'm calling in 5 seconds." 5, she smiled. "Smart man. I'll need the transfer authorization codes. I need 10 minutes. To access the accounts, verify the routing." Damien and Victoria exchanged glances. "You have 5. And Graham, if you try anything cute, call the police, alert security. She dies immediately." I pulled out my phone, hands shaking, and opened my banking app. But I wasn't transferring money. I was texting Andre a single word, now, because Victoria had made one final, fatal mistake. She'd just confessed everything on camera. The camera I'd had Andre hide in my office 2 days ago. The office door exploded inward before Victoria could process what was happening. Police flooded in. 8 officers, weapons drawn, moving like a tactical unit. Andre led them, his face hard as granite. "Hands up!" Damien lunged for the laptop. An officer slammed him against the desk, zip ties securing his wrists within seconds. Victoria froze, phone still in her hand, understanding dawning across her face. "You recorded this," she whispered. I held up my phone, showing the live feed from the hidden camera. Confession. Conspiracy to commit murder. Extortion. All on tape. Detective Ryland Courtney stepped forward, badge out. "Victoria Jewell, Damien Pratt. You're under arrest for attempted murder, fraud, extortion, and conspiracy." Victoria's mask shattered completely. "You bastard." I turned to Detective Courtney. "They have someone at the hospital. Right now." He spoke into his radio. "All units, code 3 to Mercy General, room 847. I was already running. I broke every traffic law getting back to the hospital. Police sirens wailed behind me, but I didn't stop, didn't slow, just drove like my daughter's life depended on it. Because it did. I hit the ICU floor at a dead sprint. The hallway was chaos. Security guards, police, nurses pushed back behind a cordon. Sahara's door was open. The word tore out of me. Then Dr. Martinez stepped out, pulling off surgical gloves. "She's safe." My knees nearly gave out. "The person Victoria sent, Nurse Yasmin Pratt. She'd just entered the room when security arrived." His face was grim. "She's in custody now. But Graham..." He led me inside. Sahara was exactly as I'd left her, except her eyes were open. Barely. Just slits. But open, aware, seeing. "The alarm," Dr. Martinez explained. Sahara managed to move her hand just enough to hit the call button. That's what alerted the nurses before Yasmin could inject anything. She fought. I moved to her bedside, tears streaming down my face. Baby girl. Her eyes found mine. And for the first time in 6 months, her lips moved. No sound came out, just the shape of a word. Dad. I collapsed into the chair, holding her hand, sobbing like I hadn't since the day I'd buried my parents. You're safe now. It's over. Victoria and Damien are arrested. The nurse is arrested. Everyone who hurt you is going to pay. I swear to you. One squeeze. Soft. At peace. The next 3 weeks were a blur of legal proceedings, media storms, and medical miracles. Victoria and Damien were denied bail, flight risk, attempted murder charges, overwhelming evidence. Their lawyers tried every trick, but the recordings didn't lie. Confession, conspiracy, intent. Simone was fully exonerated and compensated. She cried when I handed her the check, then asked if she could visit Sahara. They spent an afternoon together, Simone holding my daughter's hand, both of them healing. The insurance company investigated, discovered the forged guardianship documents, and Victoria's entire house of cards collapsed. Federal charges followed: wire fraud, identity theft, money laundering. The DA said she'd be lucky to see freedom before she was 70. I didn't care about lucky. I cared that she'd never hurt my daughter again. 4 weeks after that terrible morning, I sat beside Sahara's hospital bed reading her favorite book, Carl Sagan's Cosmos, when her hand moved. Not just a squeeze. Her whole hand. Fingers flexing, reaching. Her voice was hoarse from disuse, barely a whisper. But it was hers. Read the part about I could barely see the pages through my tears. We are made of star stuff. Her eyes were fully open now. Clear. Present. She turned her head, slowly, painfully but deliberately, to look at me. I heard everything, every day. A tear slid down her cheek. You came back. Always. I will always believe you, always protect you. She squeezed my hand. Strong now, certain. I heard. 6 months later, we stood in the driveway of a new house, smaller than the mansion. No marble foyers, no grand staircases, just a comfortable home with a backyard and a clear view of the night sky. Sahara was walking now. Physical therapy 3 times a week. Her speech was almost completely back. The doctors called it miraculous. I called it my daughter being exactly who she'd always been. A fighter. She carried a box labeled telescope toward the front door, moving slowly but steadily. I asked, after everything, you could study anything. She turned, framed by late afternoon sunlight, and smiled. The smile I'd been afraid I'd never see again. I'm sure someone has to study the stars, Dad. She paused. I pulled her into a hug, careful of her still healing body, mindful of how close I'd come to losing her forever. We walked inside together, father and daughter, survivors, rebuilding not just a home, but trust. Not just lives, but a future neither of us was sure we'd have. Behind us, the sun set over a house that would never hold secrets, over a family that had been tested and refined by fire. Victoria was awaiting trial. Damien had taken a plea deal. Yasmin had confessed to everything. Justice wasn't perfect, but it was happening. And Sahara was alive. That night, after we'd unpacked the essentials, we set up her telescope in the backyard. She positioned it carefully, checking angles, adjusting focus. There, she said finally. Jupiter. I looked through the eyepiece, 4 tiny points of light circling the gas giant. Distant, beautiful, eternal. Galileo discovered those, Sahara said softly. Proved that not everything revolves around Earth. She looked at me. Sometimes the things that seem fixed and certain, they're not. I understood what she wasn't saying, that she'd had to look closer at Victoria, that I'd had to look closer at my own life, that truth wasn't always obvious, but it was always there if you were willing to see it. Thank you, I said, for not giving up, for fighting. She took my hand. You're my dad. We stood there under the stars, holding hands, two people who'd survived the unthinkable and come out the other side. Not unscathed, but together. And that was enough. Thanks for staying with Sahara and Graham through every twist, every betrayal, every impossible moment. If this story moved you, if you felt the fear, the rage, the relief, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me which chapter had you holding your breath. And subscribe, because every family has secrets, but some secrets are worth fighting for. Until next time.